Guess we're recording to the cloud. All right, gang. Kevin here, Life22, and today's guest is Ryan Webb. He is America's Councilman. Is that correct, Ryan?
That's what they say. You have to ask the Twitterverse. That's where they came up with it, not me.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, I noticed the change because you're a common councilman for the Delaware County, Indiana.
I was, yes, yes, I was, yes.
Oh, okay. And are you running again? Is that what?
Yeah, I am. So I served 4 years. I was elected in 2020. And
Okay.
what state are you in? You're in New York, right?
We're in New York. Yep, yep, just south of
So
Buffalo.
I'm not sure how it works up in New York, but in Indiana we have what's called an open primary. We're one of only a few states left that does it. And what it means is when you go vote in the primary, you have to pick whether you want a Republican ballot or a Democrat ballot in the primary. And so I served for 4 years, made a lot of chaos, and they did a really good trick. They played within the rules, but it was a little sneaky. I made some waves within my own party. So my party's leadership sit down with the Democrat Party's leadership, and they come up with a plan to get me out. So what they did was the Democrats decided to not run nobody. Now, the way it works is if nobody runs after the primary, the Democrat chairman can appoint whoever he wants to fill those seats, and then they run in November, right? So they really don't
Oh,
even need the primary. So what they did, they didn't run nobody. And then they went out and told all their Democrat followers, said, don't pull a Democrat ballot, pull a Republican ballot and vote against Ryan. So that's what they did. And we counted at least 500. I don't know what it was, but out of 14,000 votes, I lost by 68 votes on my reelection. So I
really?
give them kudos to them. They come up with a good game plan. They executed it. They barely got by, but they got by. So now I'm running for election to get back in.
So are you? So now, like in our county, we have county legislators. I'm assuming that's what a councilman is for your county. Essentially, it's your legislative body. It's a member of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's a legislative body, and we basically deal. We set the tax rate for the county, and we deal with all the financial stuff. So, sheriff department wants to build a jail or buy 4 new police cars or whatever it may be. That's what the county council does. What I always tell everybody is, when you're a kid, you may have $500 and you want to go buy a $200 bike. Well, most of the time, you still had to go ask your parents for permission to spend your own money. Hey, can I go buy this bike? And the parents would
Right.
give you the green light. That's kind of what the county council does. We approve a budget. These department heads have their budget, but they still have to come to us for permission to
Over
spend their money.
over certain thresholds.
Anything outside of the budget. Once it's
Oh,
not in
oh,
that
outside of it.
budget, they come for, yeah, they have to come to us. But they have
Right.
to come to us to get the budget approved in the first place. So
Gotcha.
even that, everything is itemized all the way down to postage.
Gotcha. That's how our county is, and that's also how our city government's set up. So we're made up of councilmen. It's just the verbiage is different. So we're common councilmen for the city level or aldermen at the city level, and then
Yeah,
at our county it's legislators, which essentially
yeah,
sounds like the same. It's the same position essentially.
yeah. We don't
So
really do policy. The commissioners, county commissioners, do the policy. We're mostly the finances. So we have like a $55 million budget. There's 7 of us in Indiana. County councils are 7-person boards.
oh, okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
say I want to say there's like 20 to 30 legislators in
No,
our
no
county.
kidding. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what your population is. We're about 130,000, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not, you know what?
Pardon me.
Now that you mention that, I don't know. I don't know what it just did to my Zoom. Oh, wait, here we go. Boom. There we go. I just opened it up on another screen. Yeah, because I actually don't know Cattaraugus County's uh population. Now you've got me curious. But I ran for it. I ran for a county legislator position. And if you talk to anybody that's local, a lot of them will tell you, like, I'm the local HVAC technician for the city of Olean. And a lot of people rumored that the reason that they offered me the position was because then they could get me off the common council. And
Very
that was the
possible. There's
it,
usually always a reason for every decision. I learned doing this for 4 years. Nothing's coincidental.
right. And to a degree, at the same time though, when I saw the opportunity, I also saw a better way for me to serve. Like, yeah, I'm not
Sure.
making the decisions. I'm not going to be there forever. and somebody else is going to have to take the reins up. And it was fine for a little while, and now it just, every time I turn around, it looks like just the same shit happening, just different people.
Yeah, you gotta
Um,
look out for real life. In real life, you're an HVAC guy. People think that these elected positions, it's weird. They all think they're like these big deal. Like I know people in our community that would give anything to be elected official, and I tell them when I was there, I'm like, it's really not all that big of a deal. To be
it-
honest,
r-
most of the problems in my life are related to this. If I didn't have
r-
this
r-
nonsense and chaos, my life would be awesome. But I firmly believe, you gotta be the change you want to see, and if not me, then who? I was never in politics. I was just a guy who read the paper every day, got tired of seeing the same 10, 12 names, moved from position to position. And I told my wife, I said, you know what, I'm gonna run. She said, go for it. They never dreamed I would win. I beat a former county commissioner and seasoned councilman, and I beat him, and they couldn't believe it. And my goal was to turn Delaware County politics upside down and make my mark. And
and
I think we did
that's
that
the
4
chaos.
years. And
Sometimes,
if that ended up costing me a seat, I was okay with that. It was never going to be more than 1 or 2 terms anyway. I just want to
right,
make the most while I'm there.
right. And I felt like I could serve the city better. And so, like, that's why I stepped down. But it was one of those, like, yeah, I mean, you don't get into politics for the money, right? Like, not, you don't go to like, hey, I'm gonna be Delaware County Councilman, and I'm gonna be like as rich as Nancy Pelosi. Like, you're not going into it like coming out with these huge contracts, with these huge deals. Your bank account doesn't get fatter. If anything, it gets smaller.
Yeah. And your
Yeah,
time, and people are like, oh, you have a meeting 1 hour a week. You would know because you've served in
yeah.
office, but you would have most of your viewers wouldn't have a clue how much time I was tied up with things. People were constantly calling me. My wife would get annoyed. I mean, they would call me for
Oh,
grandparents' rights, veterans trying to get their teeth fixed. And my wife would be like, why are they calling you? I said, I don't know. I guess the word's gotten out that I help people. And even though I can't help them, I put them in the right, direction
right.
to who can help them. So, man, I was constantly doing things, having meetings, helping people with housing issues. Just you wouldn't believe it. It has nothing to do with my position that I was serving on the council. And I had a regular job. I worked 70 hours a week in my job. So,
Right. Yeah, no, and that's the funny thing too. Like, my wife get mad. My wife and your wife probably get along great. Um, my
my wife
my
hates
wife,
politics.
oh,
Hates it.
mine does too.
Yeah.
Anytime that like Facebook drags me into something, she's just like, "Son of a bitch, Kevin, what did you do to me?" She wants to take care of the kids, take care of her chickens, and then like and her ducks, and just be a homemaker, and that's what she wants to do. And so it's like anytime I throw a big stone of chaos at her glass house, she gets all angry, and I can't blame her. But like there would be people that would call me at like 8, 9 o'clock at night and just talk to me, and the
Yeah.
guy lived like 4 blocks from my house, and he would call me because I was his only friend in the entire world. That I
Yeah.
was the alderman that took his call. And then like
Well,
when I
you're
was
right about that. So many of these people, they just want someone to listen to them. Most of the
right,
time, all you got to do is listen for a minute, and then they'll fill up whether you can help them or not. They're just not used to having someone sit and listen to them. If you
right,
listen, you've already solved half the problem.
yeah. And then you just be telephone directory guy. Like, okay, hey, listen, I can't help you with this, but I can send you over here. You can go talk to Margie in accounting, and she can fix that, whatever it is. And
My
it's
wife was the thing she struggled with the most is these people around me. Because remember, I said I had my own party against me too. So these people who would be so friendly and bubbly to your face when they're trying to cut your throat. And my wife struggled with, being kind to their face when she knows they were snakes. And I tell her that's the game. You can't let them know that they're a piece of shit. You got to be polite and smile and nod, and because you don't want them to think they're having any impact on you anyway. And
right.
she would always say, "You're better than me. I just can't do it." But
No,
that's
and
that's just part of it. I'll smile and nod, and they know that I know they're trying to burn me, and they know that I'm trying to expose them for all the corruption that they may or may not be doing.
right. And sometimes they're not doing the corruption, right? A lot of people get that they think that there's just all this corruption going on. And you're like, there could be, and there might be. And like what you just did there, you turned a light on in the back, right? Like that's all
Hmm.
that some of us, that's what our job is in politics, is to be there, hold a flame to some people and make sure that like they just enough for them to sweat to make sure they realize that, hey, there is fire nearby. I am not going to miss, you know what I mean? Or a firearm. I'm
Sure.
not going to screw up. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to let any improprieties affect how I do business. And sometimes just that sunshine, right, is the best disinfectant.
Well, let me just respond to that real fast if I could.
Sure.
So you're right. And a lot of people always, oh, they got the money. Listen, on the county council that I served on, we never had, yes, we made all the decisions on where the money was spent, millions and millions of dollars, but we never had access to actual money that we could, put in our pockets or whatever. We just was the person giving them permission to spend the money. And when I refer to corruption in my county, I call it soft corruption. And what I mean by that is, I asked the State Board of Accounts to investigate our commissioners and our auditor's office for things that they were doing that were inappropriate and I thought illegal, but definitely inappropriate. And what I mean by soft corruption is all of these things, when I expose this stuff, it's not like I have some secret password to where all the secret information is kept. All these other elected officials know the same stuff I know. They're just looking the other way and not saying anything. So to me, that's a form of soft corruption when you know what's happening and you're not saying anything and having no peer accountability. In our county, we're dominated by Republicans. And even though I think Democrats are lunatics and I would never vote for them, at the same time, when we're full 7 Republicans on the council, it can kind of be an issue too because no one wants to hold each other accountable because we're all in the same party. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, that's not
Right.
okay. But if there was a Democrat, they would call us out. And I
It's
was that guy calling out both sides. And, so it was easy for me to call people out because even though I was a Republican, I didn't have allegiance to them like that. Like, I didn't give a shit we're
right.
in the same party or not. You're doing wrong. I'm going to let you know about it and tell
Right.
everybody.
No, it's the same thing, dude. I do it every day with myself, right? Like, hey, Kev, like, can I cheat and not do my workout this morning? Can I have that sweet at lunch? You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. You've just got to, like, if you can hold yourself to account, then you can start holding others to account. And a lot of people don't hold themselves to account for what they do. They just do. And then they, like, oh, my buddy's not going to rat on me. My buddy's not going to do this. And it's like, no, your buddy should be your buddy shouldn't be doing what he's doing. He shouldn't be looking the other way what you're doing. This guy over here knows what you're doing. Our county did the same exact thing. We became all Republican, which I'm a diehard Republican. The problem is I'm not going to let I'm also Kevin, right? And if there's a little bit of cancer in me, I'm going to remove it. I am not going to let it
Good point.
grow and thrive and just dig it out. That's
Good point. Well, the
yeah,
other thing is, when I came in, all these guys have been in there 20, 30 years. Hell, our county workforce, when I was growing up, having a county job was a good job. Well, now it's just a job because these old dinosaurs been in here 20, 30 years. They still thought $10 an hour was good money. So these guys are all making, crap wages. But the other thing that happens when you got these people in these positions for long points of time, they know the gray areas. So when I say soft corruption, it's not that they're blatantly pocketing money. They do things like, I'll give you an example. One of the guys that eventually beat me and took my seat, he was our county economic development director, and he served on the council years ago as a Democrat. Of course, he crossed over. Well, he was making. I knew he wasn't a real candidate. How he's making 300 grand a year as economic development director. He's not going to quit that to make 15 grand on the council. So I made the
right.
comment, well, this gentleman, he can't be the economic development director and be on the council. And the president of the council said, well, that economic development director, that company, that's in his wife's name. Well, if you're from around here, no one knows that guy's wife. He's the face of that company. He's the guy in the meetings. I don't care that the paperwork's in his name or his wife's name. We all know he's the guy. But she
Right.
had done the gymnastics in her mind to say, oh, that's fine. That's a gray area. It's technically not a conflict of interest because it's not him. It's his wife's company. Well, you and
Right.
I know that don't pass the smell test, and I don't think that's what the voters want. They don't think that's okay.
I've done videos on that too, like, because I've called out some of the local county legislators too, and it's like, if it doesn't pass the smell test, if you can't, if it smells like corruption, like there should be a rule that you should just stay the hell away from it, because most likely it is corruption. And if it's not corruption and it looks
Mm-mm.
like corruption, it should be charged the same. You walk into a school with a pistol, it doesn't matter if it has an orange little cap at the end because it's a toy pistol. They're treating it like a pistol. You're going to jail. Like
Yeah,
that's
possibly shot.
right, possibly shot,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the same thing, man. Draw and quarter people that do corruption. Okay, it's this is legitimately corrupt. Hey, this smells like corruption. Like you might just get probation for that. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a big firm like that's, and sometimes I battle with myself. Like okay, these are all the freedoms we're all afforded, and then somebody does something that like challenges it, where you're like, man, I really want to just pull that freedom away from you, beat the daylights out of you, and hand it back to you. But you can't do that. You can't strip somebody of a freedom, but they've found a way to kind of loophole their corruption into that freedom. And so now they're kind of hiding behind it.
Well, in our county, it's so embedded. I mean, our mayor just went to prison 5 years ago for corruption. There was a whole FBI sting, several department heads, the
Really?
mayor, all went to prison for kickback bribes, all these things. And so these people get so accustomed to these things that, in my opinion, are unethical. But what's wild is many of them started out just like me. They're a regular citizen who wanted to do good. And they get in there, and the other people put their arms around them. And I know this because they tried it to me several times. They would put their
Right.
arms around Ryan. Welcome. Okay, you made it. We didn't think you're going to get here, but you're here now. Just be glad you're here. They would look at it as, hey, be grateful you have a seat at the table and sit back and enjoy the perks. I would look at it as, okay, I've infiltrated your group. Now I'm going to run and tell everybody how it works. So when they would tell me all these things, say, okay, now, don't say anything. I'd be like, yeah, 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 okay. And then I would go right out to my car and go live on Facebook and and I'd put it out there. Like, this is what's
Right.
happening. And I don't do well with that. I don't buy into that. But it was so wild to see how many of them started off wanting to do the right thing and just got sucked into the machine that is Delaware County politics. We could
And
have
it,
a hit reality show if TLC ever came here. I promise.
right. And dude, and it's everywhere. Cause I've seen it at our county level. I've seen it at our city level. Like, and I want to say it's almost a human nature thing. And like what you're describing is this archetype. It's almost like county and city politics end up being like entering a prison, right? Like every prison's not the same, but you go in there and you make too much eye contact, you make too little eye contact, you talk too much, you take somebody's offering of their pudding. Like next thing you know, you're holding their pocket your entire term, like
Yeah, you're in. You're
yeah,
in.
that's
Yeah, you're
that
right. There's a lot of unwritten rules. And when I came in, they were all so shunning me. They didn't sit me down and tell me nothing. And I came in during COVID. So, usually they have like the seminar the state puts on for new elected officials. All that stuff was gone because of COVID. So I literally was winging it as I came in. Nobody told me nothing. I mean, I had to learn it all on my own and make allies. And that's one of the things I'm so proud of that I was able to get done. We got some really huge legislation pushed through, me being outnumbered 6-1. Even though they were Republicans, they were all against me. It wouldn't matter if I said, hey guys, I got a cure for cancer right here. They're voting no because I said it, right? They're going to vote against it. So
yeah,
what
you're
I would do,
Serpico. You're the cop that didn't take the
sure,
bribe.
I would take and I would use the public as a tool, and I would create this tremendous amount of public pressure on social media where they had no choice but to go with me because otherwise the public uproar was so bad. Like we got the biggest raise for our county sheriff's department in the county history. They were against that, but people were so pissed when they found out they were losing good police officers over a little bit of money. I wrote a resolution banning tax abatements for industrial solar farms. They didn't want to do that. But the public support for it was so huge, they had no choice but to go with me on it. So, I told my wife, yeah, I can be outnumbered, but with enough perseverance, we can still accomplish things. I just got to use the public as a tool.
Right. And yeah, so yeah, and I laugh at stuff like that because we had the same exact issue during COVID. It was almost like revivifying the police department budgets because people were like, "Oh my God, really? Cops only make $10 an hour?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." so they can sign up, they can be a cop, they can make like minimum wage, they can get shot at, like they have to deal with domestic violence, and then you turn around and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, every person, like little kids are gonna walk as you walk by, they're gonna point at it and be like, mommy, that's a racist, like
Yeah.
like they just treated like garbage. People were spitting
And
on them.
well, no, not in the county, I'm not a county councilman. So the county police pretty much service all the small towns, right? The city maintains most of the city stuff. So that's their safety. There's no city police officers coming out to their rural town on the outskirts of the
Yeah,
city. They may have a couple volunteer, reserve guys who work weekends and have other full-time jobs, but they don't have actual
right.
trained police officers. So that's what the county does. So when they hear that we're losing these guys because they're going across the street to work for the city and get the $20,000 hiring bonus or whatever, they're
Paying for their
pissed.
training. Yeah.
Yeah, that's affecting their public safety.
Right. And so we had the opposite problem. So our county doesn't have police officers, quote unquote, they're sheriffs. And so the city was losing cops to the sheriff's department because the sheriff's department at the county level was paying better. And so and it was easier gigs, and they were doing the same thing. We've got all these little towns, villages, everything else. And if, being one of the few cities in Cattaraugus County, we were the only ones with a police force. Like the village of Portville next to us has like one or two cops. Allegheny's got like 4 or 5 cops. You know what I mean? But it's like, for the most part, if you're little Bodunk, like 1,000-person townships, like you have the sheriff's department and the state boys if they're in the area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I made a
So
commitment that transparency. I always told everybody when I was an elected official, and even now as a candidate, I said I'm the most accessible, transparent elected official in the entire state. Being accessible and transparent and public safety was probably the two biggest core principles that I tried to promote as far as what I stood for, along with fiscal responsibility, things like that. That's another thing, fiscal responsibility. You haven't asked the question, but in my
sure.
county, I made a New Year's resolution to say no more. I got 6 kids, and I said I'm going to make a resolution to say no more in my life to my kids when they want things, to my wife, and on the council. Because these people come up there, these department heads will come up there and ask for hundreds of thousands of dollars outside the budget. And the council just rubber stamping everything. They say yes to 95% of the requests. And I said no. I said no in 1 year more than all of those councils and commissioners combined in my entire 4 years. That's how often I tell them, you got to show me an invoice, an estimate, who's, because they were just too confident. They would just say, yes, we just had another department head. Let me go off the rails here for just a second to give you a quick
Sure.
backstory.
I'm a,
So
I'm a rabbit hole guy. So
one time I made a comment that I don't trust the department heads and the elected officials who stand at the podium and ask for hundreds of thousands of dollars, because I don't trust them blindly, because people, human nature, people lie, people omit things, and people exaggerate when they're asking for money. So my kids do it. They tell me they need $20 to go to the movies, and really they're buying illegal fireworks, right? That's just what people do. And when they're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's normal. I thought that was a basic normal thing. Our Republican Party chairman issued a statement condemning my comment that I said that, because I said I didn't trust all the department heads blindly. I said there's very few people that I blindly trust, and none of them are in that room at that time. And wouldn't you know it, just about a month ago, one of the department heads actually got caught and is facing indictment for embezzling thousands and thousands of dollars. And by that, her husband is another department head. And then there's another department head who they had a relationship with. So we got one employee getting fired, 3 department heads on suspension, all because the council would ask questions. They blindly trusted her. And when she would say she needed this money for whatever, they just did it. And she's one of the ones I would have never guessed. So you never know who's going to do these things. So I was always skeptical, and I would always treat it like it was my money. If you're asking me for this money, I'm not just going to rubber stamp it and give it to you.
right.
But too often these councils do it, and they eventually they're going to have to pay the piper when the bill comes due.
Yeah. I mean, and so I've been on both sides of it too, because I like, and that's I've been up there where you rubber stamp stuff. I've been up there. I've passed shitty legislation as well as good legislation. Like I got regrets on some legislation. I've actually reached out to people that I knew that were opposed of it, and I was like, you know what? I was like, you were right.
Yeah.
It was intended for this. It did something completely different. If I could come back and like and you know like if I was Hitler's mom, you know what I mean? Like, would you kill the baby? Like, you know what? I was
Yeah.
wrong. I'm sorry. Let's let's retract this one. You know what I mean? And I'm dancing on the I'm dancing on the pro-choice kind of argument a little bit. I don't really want to go down that road because I'm sure you probably see eye to eye with me on that one. But
Yeah. I was uh oh shit, I lost my train of thought what I was about to say for a
sorry, I
sec.
derailed you.
I did the same thing that you did with the tax abatement, banning solar farm abatements for solar farms. I did that because I made a mistake. This big company come in and asked for solar farm abatement. I'm like, yeah, solar, okay, cool. So I thought we did a good thing. I said, is there anybody opposed to it? No, nobody's opposed to it. I go home, tell my wife I think we do a good job. Well, come to find out, nobody was paying attention. No one even knew about it. So the next meeting, there's hundreds of people. Not only are they opposed, but now they're organized. They got legal representation, and they're pissed. And so I had to, assess the situation, and I said, we've made a mistake. So I led the effort to repeal the abatement that we granted. And it got voted down, but our attorney told us it would be case law for Indiana. No county council had ever repealed an abatement they'd given before. That company threatened to sue us if we did it. And so the county council, my council, was afraid to do it for just the legal costs. They thought we would win, but it would cost us a bunch of money to go to court. So they just refused to do it. So the only recourse I had was, okay, I wrote a resolution to ban solar abatements in the future for any future solar company that wants to come and do tax abatements. But I did
Right.
that
And then
after making the mistake on voting in favor of it the first time.
yeah, and so like and I'm on the fence on that stuff, right? Like I get it. Solar's not there yet. Like I'm an HVAC guy. So like your refrigerant, like I know the New York governor wants to tell everybody that like, oh, electric is the way to go. It's like she doesn't know what that is. That's just a talking point, right? Like
Yeah.
heat pumps are the way of the future in the future, right? Like that change of state between refrigerant, from a liquid to a gas back to a liquid, that change of state, hidden heat, all that stuff, that principle behind that, using that and that method is excellent. The problem is we're in Western New York. So you have to have a really efficient system in order for that to work. And then when it gets really cold, it'll still work, but it's not as efficient. It is,
Mhm.
and then it's the delivery of the product. So now you got to burn like $4 worth of gasoline or fossil fuels to make $1 worth of electricity. So now you got to sell that $1 worth of electricity for $5. And then
Yeah.
it's like, but it's 99.9% efficient. It's like, yeah, but I could buy $1 of fossil fuel and have a 96% efficient boiler. So for right now, it is more efficient for me to use natural gas. And
Mhm.
I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, so the solar thing. So like solar's there. 10 years ago, solar was not what it is today. And solar is not going to be what it is in 50 years.
Right.
It'll be the size of your cell
I'm a
phone.
fan. I'm a supporter of solar. I try to get the council to put solar on the roof of every county building we own. What I have to do is listen to what the people are saying, and they're 100% opposed to the industrial solar, right? I think everybody's on board with solar panels. What they're not on board was 500 acres of industrial solar panels that are dragging down their property values. They don't bring any value to the county. There's some temporary construction jobs, but outside of that, they have like two jobs it creates. We have
And
property
then
tax
there's the
caps. So
the
any of
potential liability.
the liability, we have tornadoes here in the Midwest, and the way the property tax caps work, let's say you have $500 million you're allowed to take in. Well, you bring in another $50 million in revenue from this new solar farm. It's now you don't have 550 million. You just have that same 500 million. It's just that new 50 million is put into that kitty, and everybody else pays $3 or $4 less a year in taxes. That's how the property tax caps work here in Indiana, right?
Oh,
We
okay.
have we have property tax caps, and whenever we bring in new business and they say we're $100 million business and we're going to pay, $10 million a year in additional taxes. Well, we don't add $10 million in extra to the money we're already bringing in. The state says we're only allowed to bring in 3% of the assessed value of all the properties. So all that does, instead of adding that extra few $1 million, instead it just dilutes what everybody else in the county pays in the tax that contributes towards that amount, which in
Right.
the end ends up being just a couple bucks. So is it worth all this headache to everyone losing your property
Sure.
values, all these people upset, for me to save $3 or $4 a year on property tax? A lot of people don't think it is.
Right. And so I see the unsightliness. And so like I'll get into conversations with people on my side of the aisle and they'll say, well, they're disgusting and they don't generate what they should. Like when they say wind farms, they're noisy. There's this, there's that. And it's so like, yeah, I don't think the value is there yet. The technology is not there. So some people have to continue to play with it, continue to buy them, continue to do what they're doing with them so that the technology can still grow, right? Like if nobody was buying EVs, Elon would not have a good business, but Elon is a great guy for building that shit. He wants to go through and start,
Yeah.
like working on it and say, this is really cool. He's really excited about it. I get that way with boilers. Like when there's a new boiler system in, or hey, we've got this new product, I really want to try it. I get excited about it. I excite my customer about it. My customer's trying it out. It might not be all of the hype, but it's little steps like that that make the entire industry go faster and go better. But it takes time. My other issue, though,
I love Elon. I love my Tesla. I love Elon. He's great. Yeah, innovation's great.
I'm waiting for my Optimus bot.
I know. I told my wife I'm
I-
getting one of those. She's like, I'm not gonna have one. She don't want my Tesla. She don't like it, the self drive and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, I call her Kaczynski all the time because she's like anti technology. The Unabomber guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, Kaczynski, because she just likes things simple. But yes,
He
I'm
wasn't
definitely
from
like an
Indiana, was he?
optimist. Huh? No, he was from out like
Oh,
Montana or some crazy stuff
Montana.
like
Okay,
that.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah, we got our share of lunatics, but he's not one of them.
Yeah. My dad used to work for the state of Indiana. Small.
Who? Oh shit! Oh, I'm sorry about that. Who
You're
who
good.
worked here? Who worked
My
for the
my
state?
dad. My dad, he worked for the state of
Oh yeah,
Indiana. Yeah, he was an
nice.
auditor. Yeah, he would
Oh
audit
good.
businesses doing work. So we lived in Connecticut when I was a kid. And he would go down to New York City, he'd go to White Plains, New York, all these businesses that did business with Indiana. The state of Indiana had auditors for all these major corporations. And so he would go,
Interesting.
yeah, so through this Indiana State Department of Taxation and Finance, he would go through and audit all these big companies. So he worked for Indiana, but he lived in Connecticut.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just small world. So
Yeah.
that's where he was collecting his pension check when he died. So, but yeah, that's one of those things though. Like I think about like the solar, the wind farms. It's like, yeah, I don't think the technology's there. But then on the other side of the coin, like if it's my property, you're not telling me that I can't put a solar farm there. Like,
Yeah, that was the dilemma, man. How do you tell these guys who are set to make big money? They're getting like $800 an acre for the year, and it was a 20-year lease. So if they got 100 acres, I mean, look at the money on this, 1,000 acres. You're talking life-changing money. How do you tell them no? So I struggled with that.
right? Yeah, when it comes hard, it comes when it comes. What is it? When it comes good, it also comes bad, right? Then it's one of those phrases that people use, and it's like you all of a sudden you hit it big, right? You're Eddie Murphy, and you just got your first big movie,
Hmm.
and like you do what Eddie Murphy did, and just keep banging them out. You just do every movie you can while you can be making that money, because before you know it, you get canceled, and you do
Yeah.
a movie and you do 10 years of it, and then all of a sudden you're Robert Downey Jr. and they're canceling you for doing blackface in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, you know what? I never understood that. Like, it's one thing if you go to like a Halloween party, I guess, like Trudeau, but
Yeah,
dude was playing a role in a movie. Like, he's playing a
that was
role in a movie, bro. Like that is wild. Like Robin Williams will be next for Mrs. Doubtfire. Like I never understood them canceling Robert Downey Jr. for that.
yeah, like cancel him for Ally McBeal. in like the,
Yeah.
the late 90s. Like,
Yeah. There's other stuff we could cancel it for.
yeah, cancel, yeah,
That's funny.
cancel him for like even just being the boyfriend of Ally McBeal in the 90s. Like,
That's funny.
yeah, yeah. That was during the time that like I remember being just man, I probably wasn't even old enough to watch the show. It was just on. And it was one of those, it was just on. And it was like, it was one of those, like, he just kept popping up in every news feed. Like, just, and it feed, news channel, right? Like
Yeah,
every news
we
channel.
didn't have feeds back then. Yeah.
We didn't have feeds back then. No, he had this way about him where all of a sudden there's like every day I'd get home from school, I'd watch like the Drew Carey show while I do my homework, and then all of a sudden it'd be like, later tonight we're going to discuss Robert Downey Jr.'s next DWI, and you're like, man, he's popular.
Yeah. Yeah. He was everywhere.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
So you got a big camp. Well, how does your election structure work? Like every state's different, right? So you have a primary in June, I'm guessing.
No, it's May. So the way the council works for my position, when I won the county council, there's seven of us, right?
Right.
Four of them, there's four districts, one, two, three, four. And then there's three at large. When I won, I was an at large candidate, meaning everybody in the county voted for those at large. Well, those are every 4 years, but they're staggered with the four districts that are every 4 years too, but they're staggered. So you have an
Right.
election every 2 years for one of those council seats. So I didn't want to wait 4 years, come back around the at large. I wanted to run. What's funny, my opponent is my neighbor across the street. Great guy. Malts my leaves, right? I told him I'm running against you. I'm going to take your seat. Nothing personal, but if I'm going to lose, I just want you to beat me. I don't want no shady shenanigans. How would people cross over like that? If I lose on my own, I can live with it a little bit easier, because
Right. Yeah.
that
Some
left
non-
a bad taste in my mouth a little bit how they did it, and so that's why we're doing that one. And it's in May, and again, if I get through this one, then we should be home free in November. But yeah, that's how it's structured.
Okay.
You know.
Well, that's cool. So should be home free because you're doing a primary, right? In the Republican side?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I don't see a Democrat winning in November. Um, And that was another reason why I picked the at large or the district one is my district is mostly rural. Um, so all those Democrats, we have a college town here at Ball State, and a lot of those Democrats that crossed over came from the city. So I feel like I'll have a lot less. There'll still be a handful of them that can cross over, but not as many. You know what I mean in that district
Right.
race, and yeah, so I don't think that'll be as a big of a problem having to deal with those guys with that. So yeah, that's the decision that we went with.
So you keep talking about the city, right? So Delaware County, uh, what is your big metropolis?
Muncie, Indiana.
Okay.
We're the home of Garfield and Ball State. Garfield and Ball State, ball jars. That's what we're known for. Ball
Okay.
jars, Garfield, Ball State University.
I was gonna say I Googled it and what they don't have maps anymore. Oh, there they go. You gotta go find it. Um I also pulled up that we have 77,000 people in Cattaraugus County.
Oh yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit smaller county. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So but
a little bit
we've got a lot
smaller.
more legislators than you do.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have? Is your county city combined?
Yeah, yeah. So it's well,
So
so
do
we
you have a city county government where it's all one government?
no like we have our county government and then like we have each city or township will have their town boards or their city boards.
Hmm. See, because
So like
we have a city council that's 9 members and a mayor, and then our county council for the county, and then we have three commissioners, which three commissioners are like the mayors of the county. So it's a
oh
little
okay.
different structure. Isn't it weird how each state does it different?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say so because you keep talking about how you had a mayor that was indicted like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that like was he the mayor of Muncie or was he the
yeah.
mayor? Okay, Gotcha. So he
Yeah.
was a mayor, not a commissioner. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was the mayor.
Because
He
I've
was the
heard of some
mayor.
counties actually having a mayor, right? Like our county has an executive who
Hmm.
essentially like it's like a school board, superintendent. Like
Oh yeah.
his job is to just execute the will of the school board.
I tell everybody who's not familiar, even my own friends, they'll be like, "Oh, are you running for city council?" I'm like, "County council." They mix them up, so I get it. Nobody pays that much attention, but when people ask what commissioner, because I was going to run for Congress, and then I was going to run for commissioner. I still may run for commissioner at one point, but our commissioner, you guys remember the show Dukes of Hazzard?
Yeah.
Remember Boss Hogg?
Yeah.
Boss Hogg was a county commissioner. Boss Hogg was a county commissioner. So that's what a county commissioner is. You run the county. You're the mayor of the county, but there's three of them because it's
Gotcha.
a pretty powerful job. Yeah.
Right, right. So they just have each one of them has a district, or they're just kind of like a legislative body in that they do it over. They're just a group of people that run the executive branch.
They're the executive and legislative, and the commissioners. They do both. They
Oh,
have a tremendous budget available. They have a tremendous amount of freedom. That's where the corruption can come in. They make the decision. If I want you to be my HVAC guy, they're going to make it. Or maybe they say, we need an excavating company. You got any friends that can create an excavating company? Yeah, I
right,
got a guy okay, you got the job. You know what I mean? So they have a tremendous amount of power. In
right.
fact, when our mayor went to prison and our building commissioner went to prison, that's what he was doing. He was creating an excavating company, and he was tearing down these dilapidated houses. And he got so greedy, he was just turning these invoices at the Board of Works meeting, and they were rubber stamping them. And he got so greedy, instead of actually dealing these houses and inflating the numbers, he would go around and giving them the address of already vacant lots and give them an invoice for 15 grand for tearing down a house. And they would just rubber stamp it, not even ask questions. And that house had been torn down 20 years. There's no house there. And he got incredibly sloppy. And some citizen watchdog who, asking for public records requests or whatever, he caught them. And then they tried to retroactively cover their tracks and go back and backdate, you know, um, the quotes and all this stuff. Several of them got caught up. Several of them
That's
went to prison.
and it's those watchdogs out there, man.
Yeah.
Those are the people out in the crowd with those lighters, just like you and
Yep.
me out there being public officials. It's like, hey, it's my job with my flashlight to disinfect this shit. And
Yeah.
that's what you need. You need those. That's how most cops solve their crimes. It's not, it's yeah, sure, it's like, having a head on your shoulders, but it's also like relying on the community. That little old lady who had her grandson put the Ring doorbell in, or the little old lady who likes to smoke cigarettes out on her porch and saw the guy break into the neighbor's house, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
People watch things.
yeah,
People watch things. People see things. And it's incredibly tempting when you're doing a job like that and you do it for long enough. This is what I was talking about earlier, where people do the job for long enough, they find the gray areas. It's real easy to go, well, damn, I have to hire somebody to do this. Why do I have to pick them? I can have my sister do it, or I can just create a company and, have it. It's easy to do. It's very
right.
tempting. It's very tempting. And a lot of people fall victim to it. You just, anytime I would, lose my mind for a moment and would ever start to, um, eat the sauce, if you will, or drink the Kool-Aid, I would remind myself of what it was, what I said when I first got in. We grew up not trusting politicians and all those dirty bastards, they're ruining the city, blah, blah. If we could ever do something about it, well, here I am now in a position to do something about it. So anytime I thought I was somebody important, I would remind myself of that. What would I do if I was sitting at home reading the paper? You know what I mean? About this guy.
Right.
And that's how I would make my decisions. Same way I never changed how I spoke. They would get so pissed at me and go, "Oh, that's not, becoming of a councilman, or you can't talk like that." I'm like, I don't do that. I don't change things just because I'm in this position now. I'm the same exact person. I do it the same way. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. I think that's the beginning of, yeah, you could be professional, but when you start altering and self censoring your own actions because you're in this position, that's the beginning of just changing who you are in general. So I would always catch myself self-censoring and override that. I would never be okay with it.
So when I got into politics, I probably wasn't as loud as I became. And then you become confident. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be me. And I was the my dad raised me on Howard Stern. So it was like, so it was always shock jock, right? Like I don't support anything that Howard Stern does nowadays, but as a kid, you're like, yeah, just got to do the wham right in your face kind of stuff. Right. And that's what I was the alderman who smoked pot on YouTube on 420. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
like
great.
there's
Yeah,
there's a video on my channel of me just ripping a bong, and then like the
that is
local,
amazing. I can't smoke. I haven't smoked pot since 2014, but because my job, I wish I could, and I would have definitely done something. That's great.
I
Yeah,
you know what's funny is
you
I
probably got
smoked
some
the next.
kickback for that.
Oh yeah, no, the Channel 4 news came down from Buffalo. They wanted to talk to me. He's like in the same week, like the Notre Dame like fire happened, right? Like the cathedral burnt or whatever it was, one of
Mhm.
the and my buddy, I was looking at him, he's like, "So, what's going on?" I was like, "Well, I don't get high. Like I don't smoke. So like it doesn't take much. Like one little baby bong rip and I'm done." Like
You're
I'm
like Elon on Joe Rogan.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah, just
I
taking a
start
hit for the
getting
for the moment.
yeah, it's like, man. And so it like the next year I smoked pot on YouTube and then I ended up going like I did it with my buddy who was also I got him to get on the common council with me. And so now there's two aldermen smoking pot. That video went nowhere. Nobody
Oh
gave a
shit!
flying shit about
Really?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I smoked. 2019, 420 of 2019 is the last time I ever smoked pot. And it was
Oh,
like,
they made a big deal about me cussing. Jesus
yeah,
Christ, they'd lose their mind by smoking weed.
yeah. Oh man, everybody lost their shit over that. And I was like, yeah, because then all of a sudden my buddy was asking me, he's like, so what do you think about the fire? I'm like, fires happen. Like I just was showing disregard for things because I was high.
You were
It was
chilling.
yeah.
Yeah, no big
And he's
deal.
like, Kevin, your eyes are getting pretty squinty. And I'm like, Konnichiwa. And then
Yeah.
apparently the guy at the newspaper or the guy from Buffalo News really thought that was racist and offensive. So he was like grilling me over it and was like, all right, man. Hey, I was high. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah,
Like,
it's all right. We're just making jokes. That's funny because they tried to kick. I had my biggest uproar. They tried to kick me off the council 6 days after after my term started, because it was January 6th. Obviously 2020.
oh,
I
the
sworn
day
in
of
on
our Lord.
January 1st. Yeah, I haven't even had our first meeting yet, and or no, we had a procedural meeting on like January 2nd or 3rd where we made all our board appointments. That was it, not an actual meeting. That comes the third Tuesday of the month or whatever. So January 6th, chaos going on. Well, uh, early in the chaos, I made a comment on Facebook. I said, 200 years ago or 250 years ago, they called those guys terrorists and terrorists and something else too. And now we name all of our elementary schools and parks after them. And I said, feels like 1776, because I didn't know how it was going to end up. Looked like they were going to storm the Capitol. Man, they lost their shit over that. They come and they showed up by the damn near 100 people at council meeting demanding that I be removed. His first meeting. Remember, no one's teaching me nothing. No one's showing me. I'm literally just sitting there having to listen to all of it or whatnot. So I got pretty accustomed to him getting outraged at something that I said, and then all coming into the meeting and flipping out. And my fellow council members, they'd get irritated by it because they had to sit in there and deal with it. They want them to censor
Right.
me and all that
They're trying
stuff.
to hide money. They're putting money
Yeah,
into their
they don't want
sacks over
attention on
here.
this.
They're
Yeah, they
like,
don't want
stop. What are
attention.
you doing, Ryan? God damn it. Like
Hey, it is what it is. But I was
they
a
tried
Trump
to
guy. I wasn't going to hide it, and yeah, whatever.
yeah, they tried to censure me. I did the prayer one time. And I was like, we have a lot of like we have some Muslims in our community. We had a synagogue in our community, and this is probably something I probably more or less I don't know, regret as I'm getting older. But it was one of those like, my dad was a big like separation of church and state, right? So like when I was
Mhm.
growing up, I was drinking more of the Kool-Aid when it came to like the ACLU stuff, right? So it was like, well, if it's government, it should be like, the non-binary of religion, which to me made sense. And so like I was like, we're always just doing some prayer. And it's like when I think of a prayer, I from the government, I would think of, like speeches, right? Like give me some quotes from like Lincoln, or ask not what your government can do for
Yeah,
you, but
not a religious prayer, right? I follow
right,
you.
exactly. And so that's where I was coming from with it. And now I'm like, I've seen so much stuff that's anti-religion that I'm like, you know what? I'm not even draw a line in the sand anymore. If people want to say a
Yeah,
prayer, say a prayer. People don't want to say a prayer. But I ended up going up there, and I'm being the shock jock that I am. I was like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to sing this. I'm going to give this Pastafarian prayer. You ever followed the Pastafarians?
mm-mm.
No, the god, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
No, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, they're Pastafarians. They believe that we're descendants of pirates, because pirates actually have more similar DNA that to us than apes. And so like it's a satire religion. And so like they also believe that heaven has a beer volcano and a stripper factory. So and, so I just gave this big Pastafarian prayer. And then I was like, at the end of it, Ramen. And it happened to be the night that like the head of the zoning board commission, like she she was retiring that night after 30 something years. And it like every single like high school student happened to show up for their participation in government class. And so all of a sudden I'm like, oh boy, this one's going to go over well. And I read it and everybody lost their minds. And it was like, how dare he? And I was like, I should have stuck with JFK. I should have done the
Yeah,
JFK speech, damn it.
that's funny you said that because when I trolled the libs and I come out and identified as the woman of color, uh, man, they lost it. They showed up in droves to the council meetings, but it turned out one of my fellow council members had died. She was an old lady, sweet lady, and they were going to do this, whole memorial thing to her and dedicate everything to her and everything. And the whole council meeting got hijacked by these lunatics coming in there, just irate, bunch of trannies and, rainbow warriors. And they were in there just raising hell. And some of my fellow council members was irritated that the memorial council meeting for our fallen co-counselor had been hijacked by my antics again, which again I didn't bring these people in. I
Right,
didn't
right.
invite
They
them
just
in.
happen to.
They're pissed. I said I think it's a good thing more people are seeing government meetings, but whatever. There was a whole group of high school kids that came in and everything, so it was a big deal.
And that reminds me, because I don't think so, for like I followed your antics. Like, and so um I for a lot of my audience out there, I don't think they went down the rabbit holes that I did during 2020. So like just to just to reiterate, like your previous antics, like the big one, the one that put you at least on my map, was that you identified as a black lesbian woman, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, I changed it to a lesbian woman of color.
Oh, okay. I'm
And
sorry.
I said, because people are like, "Oh, you're not black." I said, "Well, but I'm Native. I got Native American in me." And I said, "I'm a lesbian because love my wife. I'm still attracted to my wife, and that'll never change." So, I'm a lesbian woman of color, and they lost their minds. They went crazy.
Yeah,
they
that's
they were
that's where you popped
pissed.
up on my radar. So like actually that's probably something we probably should have opened with, but um
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I
because that's what most people talk about. And the funny thing is, so much of that interview I did with Mount Walsh, they think that's all like satire, or whatever. That's all true. Like when I said that my great 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 grandfather was the Cherokee chief walking stick of the Cherokee Nation in North Carolina, that's true. I said, courtesy of Ancestry.com. I found out my great 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 grandfather, one of the greats, like four or five greats, is actually Chief Walking Stick of the Cherokee Nation. That's not made up. That's actual. That's real. I got documents to prove it. And my grandmother on my dad's side, she's full blooded Cherokee. Her name was Anna Savannah Carolina Tennessee Churchwell Webb. That's true. I mean, this shit all sounds made up, but it's real. And people just thought that was me, like, keeping the stick going. But no, that was like real stuff.
Yeah. I think you were telling me the other day that you did it all in one take. No laughing,
Yes.
straight faced.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance, if your audience out there, watch the Matt Walsh interview. It's got over 100 million views. Matt flew me out to the Daily Wire in Nashville. It was like top secret on the location. I had to sign a NDA. And
Yeah.
so he basically gets there and he says, the only rule is, don't laugh. It's no problem. And we rip it for like, he starts asking me these questions. I don't know the questions he's going to ask. And I'd already made my mind up when I did that first Jesse Waters interview. I'm going to do this dead serious, stone faced the whole time. And I did most of my interviews that way. And so I'm answering Matt's questions. He's coming back with some good ones. Finally, after 45 minutes, Matt just starts cracking up laughing. And he's like, this is fucking awesome. He said, we can definitely use this. And that was that. That was the end of it. And I didn't know how much I didn't even know what they were going to do. And 2 weeks later, it pops off. My phone starts going insane. And I told my wife, I said, something's happening because my phone just beeping left and right. And they had released the interview on Instagram and Matt had tagged me in it. So all these people were following me on Instagram. My phone's just going crazy. And, but they edited it down to like 13, 14 minutes. And one of the things in all the comments, by the way, that ended up being the number one viewed interview for all of 2023. And Dan Bongino named me the number 2 story of the year, right?
There you go.
And for that deal. So anyway, people would saying on there online, man, I would give anything to see those blooper cuts. And I would tell people, I would say, listen, there are no blooper cuts. We did that whole thing in one take. And you guys only got to see the 13 minutes of it. Like, I don't even remember what all the rest of it was, but that was all funny as hell, too. He could release a part 2, and it was pretty hilarious as well. And we were just winging it. I was winging it, but I was trying to not make it too crazy. Like when I told him I thought they may name a park after me or something, I didn't want to go too far with it.
Right.
I still think that shit's funny, man. And I watch it every now and then to get a good laugh.
Yeah, no, that's the nice part about having stock footage and having like, it's almost like not mug shots. It's like your what are the headshots that actors get? You can kind of like go peruse your book, your portfolio. You can look at all the movies you were in. That's that's the nice part about, some of the stuff nowadays. And
Let me
man,
tell you a quick
sure.
funny story if I could with that. So I told you when we talked on the phone, we ran this for about 5-6 weeks. It was crazy. Finally, my wife had enough of it. She wanted it to die down. So we made the story die down. We could have kept it going, but we let it die down. And they were trying to kick me off the council. So I had to stay straight fake. No, I'm being dead serious, And I did that for like 6 months. Finally, after 6 months, I made another post. I said, listen, I've come to my senses. I lost my mind for a moment. I went down the rabbit hole. I blamed social media. I kind of went crazy for a minute. But now I'm coming back. I'm fully a man, and I'm identifying as a man. Well, that was our Channel 8, Indianapolis, Channel 8's top story for 3 days that I switched back to a man. and it could have been longer. I quit looking after 3 days, right? Well, so people are constantly coming up to me wherever we were at, and people want to take pictures. I was getting recognized everywhere. Well, I live just north of Indianapolis. A year later, a lot of you guys don't know I drive a truck. A year later, I'm driving up to Detroit, going between Toledo and Detroit, and I get pulled over by this trooper. And he comes up to me and he wants me to get me out of the truck, walk in the back of the truck. We're on the side of the interstate, 75, I think. And he goes, don't get alarmed. There's a couple of guys back here. So as we walk the back of the truck, there's 2 Border Patrol agents, like full SWAT gear. I don't know. They were looking for something. But so they watch me while this trooper climbs in the back of my truck and starts searching. Well, I have my America's Councilman hats and this and that. I sell merchandise all over the world, big in Australia for some reason. And they're kind of looking at each other talking, and one of them goes, "Hey, are you Ryan?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Ryan." And he nudges his buddy. He's like, "I told you that was him. I told you that was him." And then they start quoting quotes from the Walsh interview back and forth with one another. Right? They're like each repeating different quotes from our interview a year earlier. And we're cracking up. They're like, "We take a picture." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll take a picture." This is all on the side of the interstate, cars zipping by. Well, that trooper, he's in a truck. He don't know anything about it. He turns around. We're taking pictures, selfies. He don't know what the hell's happened. Well, last he looked, they were guarding me while he searched this truck. And he's like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Oh, he's so and so," and he could give two shits. Couldn't care less. He's probably a Democrat, but it was funny that those guys, however many 400 miles away, a whole
Yeah.
year later, still recognizing and remembered that. And I still get people every now and then who'll recognize it.
So I recognized, yeah. So when I first watched the, I, I can't remember if it popped up on Facebook or if it was part of like the Morning Wire. I don't know if Morning Wire existed then. I believe they started in like
Uh,
2021.
I don't know. This was, I think, in 23 or 24, 23, I think. But I
Well,
did. I mean, I
the
was
Walsh
peeking
interview was
everywhere.
23, right?
Yeah, the Walsh interview was, I think, around May. I think this popped off around April. And
Okay.
then, yeah, Walsh interview aired in May. The very first interview I did was with Jesse Waters. And then Gutfeld and all of them, Pierce Morgan, uh, Glenn Beck. I did a bunch of them. And then I started cutting off the interviews just because, it was just one thing after another, whatever. It was a lot of fun. We had fun with it, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. No, I caught it on a news podcast, and all of a sudden, like I
it was
listen to Matt
everywhere.
Walsh every day. So
Yeah.
I listen to Matt and Ben Shapiro and all those guys like daily. So all of a sudden, I was like, holy shit. I was like, my
Yeah.
wife could care less about any of the stuff that I listen to. I'm like, honey, this guy that I just saw on a news thing like a month ago, he's getting interviewed by Matt Walsh. This is the craziest
Yeah.
shit ever.
Well,
He's a
I was freaking out when Jesse Waters went into the interview, and I told my wife, like, if Matt Walsh calls, I'm going to lose my shit. And I opened up my Twitter, I think it was, and I had a private message from him, and he was saying, "Hey, I'd like we should do an interview. Probably should be in person." Hell yeah! I got the green light from my wife. She was like, "Go do it." Got my boss; they were cool with it. They flew me out, into Nashville or whatever. And Jesse Waters sent a crew to the house. All the other videos were Zoom, besides Jesse sending the crew and Walsh flying me out. And it was a pretty cool thing. It really blew up when Walsh got a hold of it because he
right.
covered it on his show a couple times. Everybody covered it. Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles. I'm friends with Michael Knowles on Twitter. A lot of those guys follow me now, Riley Gaines and Michael. And Joe Rogan sent me a text and stuff, and we kind of went back a couple times with texts. My kid thought that was a cool thing. But you know who didn't? I never heard from him, and I never saw him say anything about it was Charlie Kirk. I don't think Charlie ever touched it. Every single conservative commentator did something about it, but at least I never saw it. Never seen Charlie do anything about it, and I never heard from him.
Yeah. He had a good run. It was a good run though.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You never know when you're gonna go viral, you know.
Yeah, it was, and it probably wouldn't have if I wasn't an elected official. That way, I'm sure that boosted it, and it didn't hurt that the number one video they took off was the Channel 8 news lady. I told you this earlier when they called and
Yeah.
asked for a statement. I wrote them a response declining to do this interview, and they wouldn't use that as my statement. So they do their top story. She's reading this thing, and she's like being dead serious. This black lady talking about me being a transgender woman of color, and it's so funny is that she's having to read it with such a straight face. I think that's what made it take off. Is her reading it like it was real and happened to pretend she knew it was bullshit, but she had to read it like it was real, and they all
Right.
had to read it like it was real.
Yeah,
And
because what if you truly believed that?
well,
And
that's
so
what
now,
it's ended up being.
yeah,
We set their movement back so far because a week before they were saying all you had to do was just say it, declare it, make it so, and you are. You're a woman, you're a man. All you have to do is declare it and feel it.
Right.
No,
You're a Cobb
you have to
salad.
prove
That's
nothing.
it.
That's right. Well, fast forward to me doing it. They all of a sudden set back their own movement 2 or 3 years by saying, no, you can't possibly be because you haven't done no hormones. You haven't changed your documents. You haven't done the social stuff or told your family. I said, wait a minute. What are all these, things that you say that has to meet this checklist? You guys just said that you didn't have to do anything. You've set your own movement back.
Right.
So it was a real beautiful moment to hold the mirror up to them
Well,
and
yeah,
and,
but you
and
could be
show
lying.
the contradiction of their ideology was so apparent, and they knew it, and that's what made them so mad. They
Right.
knew that it was exposing them,
Did you get any
and
death threats?
oh my God, I still get death threats. I get death threats all the time. You know what I mean? All the time. And yeah, we had to increase our security. Bunch of them, like 4 carloads of people showed up one night at 2 in the morning and all jumped out next door, dumped 2 bags of trash all over the front yard. They got my little old neighbor's yard. They thought it was my house mailbox, but it was my next door neighbor. And so we had our security. I carried my pistol with me everywhere I go, and the sheriff's department had to have several more officers at the county council meeting because they were all threatening me on Reddit. They had to, I come in through a different door, all this bullshit. So some of them were annoyed by that, but oh yeah, we definitely got some death threats. Yeah.
Man,
Uh,
that poor little old lady.
oh, she was pissed. She got beating on my door at 8 in the morning, crying. Ryan, what did you do? That's how
I'm,
it has to do with me.
I'm sorry, Miss Jenkins. I'll be right over.
Yeah,
I'll get it cleaned up. Don't worry.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I felt bad. Bro, it's funny you said that because just about a month ago, I went out. I had to go to a candidate's breakfast where I was doing a speech. So I was rushing. I walk out the door, and it's windy because the rainstorm's getting ready to come in. My whole front yard had been toilet paper rolled, right? But not just my yard. The next 4 houses, they had to have used 75 rolls of toilet paper. There was so much toilet paper. And then I thought, because it was so windy, I'm like, okay, did they get my yard and all the wind blew into all them, or did they get one of them and it all blew to me? And then I thought, well, it's probably me they got. And then I found like 4 whole rolls in my yard. So I knew it was me. But then it all blew down to the neighbors. I had to leave. The rain's coming in. So my wife had to get out of bed, go out there, clean it all up real quick before it rained. But that was just a month ago. So yeah. Yeah,
you
it's always
still got a lot
something.
of fans out there.
When I leave every morning at 5 a.m., I walk out that front door. I don't have my gun in my way. I have my gun in my hand. I still do this to this day. My gun is in my hand. I walk to one side of the house. I turn to look. I go to my other side of the house. I walk in between my car and my wife's car. I look around. I look all around, open up the door, gun in, I get in, and then I close the door. Then I put my gun up. I do that every single day. Nobody's going to sneak up on me if they're going to, because they stalked me. They wanted to know where I worked. Somebody followed me to work, staked me out. I leave for work at 5 a.m. And they finally figured out where I worked, put it on Facebook, and they were all these fucking retarded Democrats were organizing by the hundreds and calling my corporate office, trying to put pressure on them to fire me. They were trying to cancel me left and right.
Right.
I told you they all signed me up for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails, like companies. Like who has that kind of time?
And
You know how long it
well,
takes to sign up for an email list? They did it
well,
for
actually,
hundreds.
you mentioned that the other day. There's actually spammers that do that. So, my somehow my email got like hacked, and so like somebody found out that like my account like on Amazon had had 2 different emails, and so whoever comes in, they actually sign you up to a bulk list. Like they actually have like programs which now are called AI, right? Like they sign you, like the AI will sign you up for like these huge spam lists, and it'll be so much that it'll overrun like Google and Yahoo that
Yeah.
they'll actually like lock your account out.
Well, they were signing me up to stuff that they had to pay money for. I got a thing that was like some devil worshiping club to thank you for your $10 donation and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all
So
right,
those
well, you
might
guys
act
are
a little
spending
different,
your
but
money. Yeah.
right. I
And
was gonna say, oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. It was a lot of lesbian stuff and gay stuff. I'm sure there was some spam stuff in there, but it turned on a dime. I mean, and I had my county email, my email and my campaign email, so three emails at least. And I mean, I would
Yeah.
have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds
So
every day, every day.
so that's what
That
my
was
IT
probably the
guy
most
said.
annoying thing out of all of
So what they'll do is they'll figure out how to crack one or two of your emails. If they can crack an email, what they'll do is that's when they'll spam it. So once they get it, they send the receipt over, they reset your email password, and then they spam it so that you can't even try to get in because now it's locked out for 48 hours and you can't get in. In the meantime,
it.
they're using your email to get into your Amazon, ordering off Amazon gift cards with your credit cards. They're going through and then they're getting the Amazon gift card shipped wherever, or just getting the codes emailed to your email, pulling them down, and that's when they go through and just now you're locked out.
But
So they do.
these people were the most disgusting, hate-filled, deranged people you could ever meet. They think they're so loving and so considerate and compassionate, and they were just filled with hate constantly. I mean, they would talk about, I hope your kids get raped and killed, and I mean, just the most disgusting, foul things you could
Yeah.
ever say. I
Oh
posted
shit.
just a
Yeah.
picture of my kids, had nothing to do with political. They would go crazy on there, and when you're elected official, you can't block people, right?
Right.
My wife would be like, just block them. And I'm like, I'm not allowed to block them,
I don't.
and
Yeah. I
she's
don't block anybody.
on
People
my
block
campaign
me.
stuff. Right. And so yeah, they were doing all of those disgusting things and saying all these things. And they were trying to make it unsafe for me. So they actually coordinated. I one day I pushed back. I took a list of the 10 most rampant lunatics, and I put their fucking picture, their profile pics out. And I was like, these are the crazy bastards who were a threat to my safety, blah, blah, blah. Well, I have a lot of followers too. So my followers turned on all of those people. And then they started freaking out. Oh, he sicked his people on me. He doxed us, blah, blah, blah. They say I doxed the kid because one of the ladies' profile pic, she had like her 17-year-old kid in the picture with it, which I didn't
Yeah.
notice that, but whatever. It's not like I gave her address and her name, and it was her public profile pic. But so they'll say that I doxed some kid. Well, anyway, long story short, when I did that, they said I threatened their safety. So 10 of them, no, 14 of them got together. They made a plan, and they all 14 went and filed restraining orders against me. And I wouldn't know these people if they were sitting next to me right now. And their plan was, because they would talk about it, they would all have like 4 or 5 different accounts. And my wife would see 50 people saying these things. She's like, do this many people really hate you? And I'm like, that's not that many people. That's really like 9 people. They just all have like 4 or 5 accounts, and they would go and alternate between their accounts and keep making comments in the newsfeed to make it look like there was 40, 50 people. And then finally, my wife seen one of them say, oh, he blocked me and he blocked me on all of my accounts. So then she was like, you're right. They really do have all those accounts. And I told her, I said, I know these people. I've been dealing with these people. I know them like the back of my hand. And what they said on one of their pages was they filed those restraining orders hoping one of them would get through. They knew most of them would get tossed, but they thought if one of them got through, then I wouldn't be allowed to carry my gun anymore. That was what they were hoping to achieve by that.
Right.
I
And
and
then
when I couldn't file restraining orders against them because I was an elected official, and they had the freedom to criticize their government.
right. Yeah. Isn't that great? Yeah. I hope your
Yeah,
kids get raped is criticism of a government official. Like, I mean, I guess
sick
they can
people.
hope, right? Like, it's like, man, just I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was like, there's so many people that are like stuck in their ideology. They're stuck in their way of thinking of the world. And it's like, if you just, I said, it would be great to just interview a zombie, like just get somebody dressed in zombie face and just like, tie him to a chair and be like, I want to know what your thoughts are on, like, I don't know, the current, the current Iran war. And they'd be like, and just start like just foaming at the mouth and be like, yeah, yeah. What do you think about Trump? Like, I was like, man, you guys kids can't control yourselves.
Oh, they're in their bubble. That's for certain. And they think I'm in a bubble. They say, "Oh, you're not open minded," and really, what they don't understand is I think I'm one of the most open minded people that there is. I'm just rational. I told you briefly earlier. I admit there's this one transgender, and I can meet with you if you're transgender, and I can be respectful. I'm not going to do the pronoun thing, and I'm not. I mean, if you want to go have a beer, we can have a beer and have a good time. But the second you start saying, "Okay, Ryan, now I need you to refer to me as a woman," or I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to entertain your mental health problems.
And they know that, but we can be respectful. So I went and
Right.
met with this one reporter. I didn't know it was a training until I got there. We met at Panera Bread or whatever, and it's a transgender kid. And we had this really respectful interview. And at the end of it, he thought it was going to be this hit piece he was writing. He's got this newspaper that he writes for. And he tells me at the end of it, he says, "You're not what I thought you were." And I told him, I said, a lot of people say that to me. They get the internet version. They see what people have repeated in the local community groups. They think they know who I am, and then they'll sit down with me or they'll meet me and they'll go, "You're not what I thought you were, or you're not what I thought you would be." He come
Right.
away with that experience. I have another one I'm about to do tomorrow night when I get home. Another transgender that said on one of my comments, I think I made a post that I was endorsed by the lieutenant governor. And we were at the White House on Monday, right? I was at the
Yeah.
White
Yeah.
House on Monday. Did I tell you that? You've seen that. For the
I
East.
saw it. That's yeah. So I was like, you know what? I should reach out to Ryan, get him on the show.
So we were at the
So
White House, and I do a video at the White House touting what I'd done on my campaign. Well, it's got hundreds of negative comments. Like out of 112, like 3 are positive, right? They're all just people hating. And this person said, "I would actually sit and talk with you, but I don't think there's any room for love in your heart. It's just hate or something along those lines." And I remember that first transgender I met with, and I said, "You know what? If you did sit and talk with me," and most of these people I don't respond to anymore, but this one I did. I said, "If you did sit down and talk with me, we would probably both find out that we both agree on more than we disagree on, and
right.
that we can be respectful of one another, and at the same time, just agree to disagree on the things that we don't agree upon on." And I said, "I think we could do that. Where would you like to have a beer?" They sent me a private message, and I thought it was a woman at first, but because I never clicked on the actual picture, but once I looked, it's a dude. And so anyway, we're gonna go have a beer tomorrow, and we're gonna have a chat. And I expect more than likely it'll be similar to the other situation. They may not come away as one of my biggest fans. They may not come away. They still may not even like me that much. But I don't think it'll be the vitriol that they currently have from what they see on Facebook that they think is there. You
They think
know,
that gotcha moment. Like I'm going to get the in-person gotcha moment with
yeah,
this guy.
we're gonna have a respectful conversation. I'm not gonna be rude because if I'm talking to a training, I was a supervisor building locomotives, and we had a transgender in there, and there's ways around that. I just won't use language where I have to say he or her. I use your name. I use a whatever. I'm not going to go down that road, but at the same time, I'm not going to blatantly rub your nose in it and try to disrespect you to your face like that neither. And I would do the
Right.
same thing with this person. When we chat, we'll talk, and I will do everything I can to not use he or she, because if I do what I want to do, then they're going to be offended by that, and I'm not going to do the way they want me to do it. So the only alternative is I will just do it differently and call you by your name, because I'm not
Right.
going to,
Because you're
capitulate.
there for substance of a conversation. You're not there to just, get in a fist fight. Like
That, and
there's
I'm not there to
jujitsu rings
validate
for
your
that.
feelings. I'm not there to
Right.
validate your feelings and contradict where I stand on my moral ground either. I think we can both have our own moral ground without either one of us, giving up where we stand on the issue. If that
Right.
makes
And then
sense.
yeah, no, and then yeah, but you're there for the substance. You're not there to get in the pissing match. So like you want to have a conversation. Like this person wants to talk to me, they want to talk to me. We're going to talk about real things. I'm not going to, I'm going to just step aside all the nonsense they're going to try to entertain and be like, "No, let's talk about real things." That's
Well, my
I get
wife
it.
is a little nervous because she's always nervous from these people. She's worried for my safety all the time. They come up to me in the stores and they'll put their phone in my face and things like that. And, you know, I'm pretty well known around here. And I've always said that if anybody ever makes a move on me, it'll be one of these trannies, somebody in the transgender community. I guarantee it, because they're the ones that are the most batshit crazy. So
Right.
when I told her, "Hey, that girl I told you I was going to have a beer with," turns out it's a transgender. So that made her a little uncomfortable, but you know what? We'll see how it goes, and
Yeah,
hopefully it works out okay.
yeah, for sure. We're getting to the hour and a half mark. You got to put your daughter. You got to call your daughter and put her to bed or something, right? So.
Yeah, yeah. If you have any specific questions you got, I can we can do another 10, 15 minutes if you want. But yeah, I'm gonna call and tuck her in. But I don't want to just cut you off. If you have anything that we haven't gotten to,
No,
now'd
no,
be a good
nothing I
time
can
to
think
do.
of. I'd love to have you back on the show. I've got a lot of repeats. So like a lot of times, this is kind of my podcast was started like to like it was like all the crazy stuff that like you've experienced too in your life, right? Like I was like, you know what? I need to ed TV this shit. I need to Truman Show my life. And that's how it started. Then it became like, all right, Kevin's ranting about this. There's local politics. There's a post about this. There's an interview with a cool guy named Ryan from Indiana. Like I've like last month, was it 2 months ago? We had Jackson Lahmeyer on the show. He's running for he just announced last week he's running for um state senate for
Oh
Oklahoma.
yeah,
So we had him on the show. I've got like two of his books. He keeps writing like two books a year, and then they send me his books to review and read. And so
very cool.
yeah.
That's very
So
cool.
Saturday we got Kenny Paul Carey coming on the show. So it's
Well, that's funny. It's funny with the whole podcast thing. I've got people, even my wife said it to me today about starting a podcast, and I'm not familiar enough with it to do it. I got a lot of good stories to tell. I tell everybody, like you think of the top three or top five story in your life, and I've got 45, 50 of those. Like I've lived a
yeah.
lot of lives. I've got a lot of wild shit that I did back in the day. Like I'm writing this book, writing this autobiography book about I just wrote down, I sit and I thought about all these different stories. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and do 15-minute segments telling each of these stories. And I got about 45 to 50 of them. And when it's all done, I'm going to take those audio, clips and create those and make them a book. And I thought that's the best way for me to do it is to tell the story and then use that audio and make it into a book. But I've done a lot of things, man. A lot of people don't realize I come it wasn't always. I was an addict for 5 years. I've had four motorcycle crashes. I've almost died several times and got addicted to pain pills and, went down that path, was in the streets. I sold drugs back in the day for years, for like 15 years selling drugs and just living a street life and coming
Yeah.
addict and now get my shit together and, then become it's really a success story. Then you become an elected official and all these things. So I would go work in the jail with these jailers because I would go around to all the department heads and spend time with them, go on sheriff's ride-alongs. And they would have these guys in jail, and I would tell them like, I've been in this jail. like,
Right.
like you can still make something. You if you haven't went too far this could just be a setback. I mean, I know you get
Even if you have.
motivational things, but I was able to climb out of that. Now I got a great life, great wife, and if you'd have looked 10 years ago when someone would have pointed at me and asked, do you think I'd be where I was today? No one would have took that bet. No one, no one. Because it just didn't look like it was going to work out that way. And I've been blessed to do it. So yeah, I've got a lot of great stories, and I'm going to figure out a way to tell them. But
Yeah. If you
some
ever
of it's
need if
pretty raw, man. It's not the most flattering. My buddies have already said, "Do not use my real name," because
right.
they were all there with me. One of my buddies is a sheriff's deputy. He's in half the stories with me, and now he's a cop. And he did
Yeah.
half the wild shit with me.
Yeah, no. If you ever need help like with a podcast or anything like that, just let me know. Like I've like because like I do distribution on it now. Like if my podcast isn't huge, you know what I mean? Like 3,500 followers on YouTube and like the same on Facebook. Like it ain't huge, but it's one of those things. It's like it's my release to the world. Like it's like, man, this is my hobby. This is the thing that I enjoy doing. This prevents me from like snapping and you know being a raging alcoholic. Like
That's good.
and yeah, and
Everybody should have something like that. It's like a
yeah,
diary. You're like
yeah,
doing a diary, but you're doing it to the world.
Right, yeah, because I want to be honest with people. People are like, "Well, who's Kevin?" It's like, well, you've got the autobiography right here, baby. And like, I would love to write an autobiography someday, or just write a book in general. Like, there's tons of things I would love to do if I had the time. But it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I and so my guest on Saturday is Kenny Polcari, and he's like a financial analyst, and he was on Wall Street for 30 years. And I've even told him, and because he was like, because he does his podcast on Substack. He releases his Substack and he's got YouTube videos and then he shares them onto Substack. And I'm like, if you ripped them into audio, you could reach more people. Like, I'm not a big audio guy. Like, I will listen to Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro every day and I'll listen to them, but like it's playing in my pocket. Like, my phone screen might be off, but the video is still playing. So, like, I'm
Right.
a video podcaster. Like, I don't typically go out of my way for audio only, but if I'm like 90% of it is me listening to it. And so like, but people love audio. And I learned that doing this, kind of being in this hobby. And like, so I use Transistor and I push out everything and it hits like, I'm on Apple Podcast, I'm on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. It pushes it out to a whole bunch of like different apps in Lebanon. Like,
That's wild.
yeah,
Well, that's funny you say that because I just like to tell stories and share. I feel like I've lived such an adventure. And I tell my wife, I said, this could be a motivational story for somebody. And she's like, yeah, but she's, the embarrassing stuff she wants to leave out, the selling the drugs, going to getting arrested. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a felon. I've never, been arrested for nothing crazy or anything like that. A couple times here and there, and never convicted of anything or anything like that. But,
I can see
dealing
why you're
drugs and
afraid.
doing all these things. She's a nurse. But I told her, but you can't have the comeback without being down first, right?
Right,
The getting to the top, not that, being a local official to the top, but, moving that direction doesn't mean anything if you aren't down here at one point. And I didn't start there. I was up here first. I was riding high. We made a ton of money, man. Granted, some of it was drug dealing, but I mean, lots of money and houses. I had a bunch of rental properties, all this stuff. And then I got in the motorcycle accidents and I got an addiction, lost all that. Me and my first wife split up. So, boom, down the gutter. I met my wife I'm with now. I had just crashed my fourth time, my motorcycle, fourth time. I'm laid up, busted up. I mean, I'm busted up, broken legs, ankles, peg went through my leg. I'm road rashed up. I met my wife 3 weeks later. And I tell that great story. It's a love story because I was at
nurse
my
at the
dad's
hospital.
house. No, I was at my dad's house recovering. She wasn't a nurse then. She worked for
Oh,
people with
okay.
disabilities. And my dad didn't have cable. So I'm bored as hell, and you ain't got cable. And I'm on Facebook, and I see my buddy. He's got like 800 more friends than me. He's dead now. He OD'd. And I'm like, who do you know that I don't know? So I find my wife's name, and I think it's a different girl with the same name. And I look, and she's attractive. It wasn't the girl I thought it was, but she's hot. And I'm like, they were like the Ball State homecoming. So I sent her a message. I said, didn't I see you at the Ball State homecoming game this weekend? And she's like, yeah, I was there. I didn't know that. I seen it on her Facebook. And so we go back a few times and she goes, you'll have to forgive me, but I don't think I know you. And I was like, you're right. You don't know me. What do you say we talk about it over lunch? And she goes to me for like 6 hours and then she comes back and says, let's do it. And I've been with her ever since. But when I got with her, I had this crash. I'm an addict. I'm going through a divorce with my first wife. I was living on my buddy's couch. Now I'm at my dad's house recovering. I've wrecked my motorcycle, no insurance, so I don't have no vehicle. Now I don't have a job. I'm basically a fucking bum. You know what I mean? I tell her
Right.
nowadays, I say, I really question your judgment because I don't know what the fuck you were thinking. Up for, going saying yes to me back then because I was not a catch. And she says, I ask myself that all the time. And the only thing I can come to terms with is the Lord had a plan to put us together for me to save you, pull you out of that. And that's exactly what happened. And 2 days before I met her on that Facebook, I was at my dad's house alone. And I don't remember what it was, but I literally dropped to my knees. I had crutches, but I dropped down and I cried out. I was the only one in the house. Yelled it out to the Lord to change. I was tired of this way I was going. show me a different way. And I met her 2 days later, and it completely
Right.
changed the trajectory of my life. Got me good, got me off opiates, painkillers, got me, good jobs. I always excelled whenever I was in a job somewhere. So once I got my foot in the door, boom, shoot to the top in management. Then I become an elected official. We're making great money again, and the rest is history. But I had to
Right.
get to that bottom point to really appreciate where I'm at now.
You can't,
Uh,
yeah, you can't really do the ascension, right? Like
yeah.
you're
Otherwise,
like,
you're just
oh,
a guy who has a good job and was an elected official, but you don't know what it took to get here.
right,
You
right. Yeah,
you have
but
no
if you're,
idea.
if you're JFK's kid, right? You know what I mean? Like, or you're JFK, right? Like you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like, and like, oh well, you just went, from here to here. Well, like, no, we want the Vivek Ramaswamy story. We want all the way here, like poor immigrant parents, all the way up. Just
and for
proving
me,
himself.
it's even one step because I was here and then I went down on here and then back up. So
Right.
I was rocking it before I fell into the addiction, dropped all the way down, and then was able to fight my way back up. Uh,
It's that. Yeah, it's definitely that trajectory. People follow the
so,
trajectory.
so I'm hoping to be able to somehow share that without opening old wounds, and embarrassing anyone.
That,
But
you
you got to
know,
be humble. We do some embarrassing shit. We have to own it. Yes, I did some dumb shit,
and
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 all
it's
you
good
can do
mental
is own
health,
it.
man.
Yeah.
You do stuff like this, it's great mental health. That's the kind of mental health stuff that like actually like makes transgenders realize like the path they're on, and they start reversing course.
And
So
and when I do that stuff and they try to bring it up, oh my God, he was arrested. Like, well, yeah, we've already talked about that. Well, that's old news. You take
yeah,
that away from them. Nobody can criticize you about that because you've already put it out there. If you take
right,
away their ammo, they don't get to use that no more.
right, yeah, I get it. I get it,
So,
man.
but I'd love to come back sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Well, stay in touch. I've got your number, and from there, guys, we'll do our sign out. So, gang, I hope you enjoyed our podcast today with our new friend Ryan Webb, who is America's Councilman from Delaware County, Indiana, and we'll catch you guys next time on Life 22.
Yeah, you guys can